So now I'd like to invite our next two panelists onto the stage, and it's Dr. Khadija Owusu and Simone Robinson. And we did have in the brochure Anna Gray from Severfield, but she's not very well, so we hope that she has a speedy recovery, and we will miss her today. So Dr. Khadija is an award-winning leader, international speaker, and junior doctor. She's been a guest of Michelle Obama at the White House. Won the Women in STEM Awards by Her Royal Highness Princess Anne, and she's also the Forward Ladies Rising Star of 2022. And Simone is a dynamic speaker, published author, and thought leader, committed to dismantling barriers and creating positive change in the workplace and beyond. As Global Diversity, Inclusion and Belonging Manager, Simone has played a pivotal role in driving diversity initiatives within GKN Aerospace, implementing strategies that go beyond mere representation to create a culture of belonging. She was also voted a top 10 future leader. Thank you for joining me. So we spoke this week, and it was a really interesting conversation. I was really wowed by everything that you've done, are doing. You're both amazing, amazing people. And I wish when I was when I was younger, I achieved as much as you, because I'd be way smarter now. But in speaking to both of you, I think the thing that I found the most interesting was both of you were just like, yeah, this is just what we're doing. It wasn't a sense of feeling like you're making the major waves, the major change that you're making. And a question that I have just kind of off the bat, because you both have amazing stories, is with all the senior leaders in the room today, could you first of all just share one thing that you think businesses could be doing to ensure that talent like you gets to where you are?
Are you sure, Chris? Yes. Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Khadija Owusu, as you mentioned. So your question was how senior leaders can ensure we get to the top. I think number one, the first thing to do is to listen. Sometimes we underestimate the power that young people have, especially in the workplace. We are young, bright, mostly energetic. We have amazing ideas which can definitely serve for the benefit of a lot of businesses and push them and not only accelerate their growth, but also purely for the benefit of the business as well, which can make you stand out. So number one, definitely to listen to the young people, creating an environment where they feel comfortable enough to be themselves. And also sometimes in our workplaces, young people feel afraid to speak up to their senior leaders because they think, oh, they might take it the wrong way, or we're at risk of losing our jobs. And so we need to eliminate that fear, create a comfortable environment. And if that means ensuring that we implement mentorship in our workplaces, but also reverse mentorship. Sometimes, yes, it's the older person that tends to give us the advice, give us the guidance. We also have some advice and guidance to give to you too. It can go both ways. And that creates an environment where we can speak up and work together for a much better benefit overall.
I think my one thing would be to slow down and really think about what it is and how they're doing. And see, when we talk about things like, increasing the percentage of women that we have in the workplace and all of those things, we talk about then, well, it starts from schools, it's in society, and it feels like there's some really big thing that we have to solve, and then people almost take a step back and then, oh, it's this huge thing, I don't really know what to do. Whereas if every single person thought, okay, well, what am I doing as an individual? I'm going to slow down and think about every little thing that I personally do. It would have a collective impact. And you think when we talk about the issue, it feels so big and it's tiny, how to solve it, but really, are you doing the work that you need to do yourself? Are you slowing down when you need to make decisions? And what you said around listening to people, because it's not that people are talking about it. Everybody in all different workplaces are screaming about what needs to happen, and it's just that we're not really listening. So I think that's really important as well. No, yeah, something I've often thought is leaders don't experience the business as it is, they experience it at their level. So it's one thing to say, well, I think it's quite inclusive here, really, but they don't experience it at the ground level where you are working with your peers, and sometimes it's not the same feeling because everyone says yes to the boss,
everyone says yes to you. But you have a couple of charities and you are incredibly busy. Tell me what really poured your heart, that put your direction into charities that you brought. So I run two charities. The first is Melanin Medics, based in the UK, which works around tackling diversity and representation within the NHS, especially amongst doctors. So we work across the board with starting from students in as young as year 2, doing a lot of outreach, especially targeting African and Caribbean students, assisting them to get into medical school. We also work with a lot of ethnic minorities within medical school and our ethnic minority doctors, because there are some challenges along the way, not only within medical school once you do graduate, so working towards ensuring that there is representation on our senior leadership boards within the NHS to help further tackle issues relating to health inequalities. I'm sure you've heard of maternal mortality, especially amongst Black women. With COVID-19, a lot of issues were highlighted. So we work with the General Medical Council at the British Medical Association to also help alleviate some of these issues. My other charity, my absolute baby, is AKAYA Foundation, which is a charity focusing on young women and girls in Ghana, as improving and assisting their access to quality education and healthcare. And so those are the two, especially charities that I mainly work on. I'm extremely passionate about those charities. And if anybody is interested in supporting any of the two charities, please do feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to be around for a couple more hours. Definitely all the support we can get would be much appreciated, whether it be individual, but also through business partnerships. We're more than open to. I forgot you said a part of the question. So
Terrible. No, well answered. Why you felt drawn to those two?
Yeah, I think just generally, I have a love for helping people. Makes sense as to why I'm a medical doctor, but also especially young people. And now that's more fine-tuned into young girls. We are the key to the next generation. If you teach a young girl, especially back home in Ghana, you're teaching an entire family, a community. And so it's so crucial, the work that we do through both charities, that we ensure that young people are given the skills to grow, to become leaders, because when we're not here, they're going to be here, and they need to be equipped with the tools to ensure that the next generation and further live a better life.
And Simone, in your role as a global diversity, inclusion and belonging manager, we've seen from 2020 and different movements, things happen, people have great enthusiasm, we all want to do the right thing, it kind of fades, it doesn't happen, certain things don't get through. How have you found, or what strategies have you used to take it from the feel-good feeling of we need to do something to actually implementing things in the business?
What we're doing at GK Aerospace is really starting with conversations. And you'll know across all businesses, people don't want to talk about some of the more trickier topics, and it feels quite comfortable to talk about gender, and then where we enter then into other areas, it can feel a little bit uncomfortable. And we're starting with conversations. We have a whole learning curriculum of all different types of learning, because we know, of course, the nature of diversity. No two people are the same. Everybody's brains are different. But a lot of that is based around people having conversations and having time to talk together as a team. Real bite-sized learning as well. We are, an aerospace company. We have a lot of operations-based sites, and people don't have the luxury then of coming off their work for hours at a time or sitting in a classroom. And so that really bite-sized, that we can have conversations, up to 15 minutes around different topics, and then when people really get into them, they take a little bit longer. But we started with things like that, and that's what I've used in previous companies as well, because we're all human beings, aren't we? And that's where we get the most benefit of talking to each other, understanding each other. And then it opens people's minds. And so then people across their various roles across the business can then start to put things in place where they matter. And it's people who are in those roles that are really then integral to make change across the business, whether it's in sales or, in a role in HR or comms, all of that stuff.
And You were the Forward Ladies Rising Star of 2022. I always think the question is, how did it feel? Of course it felt good. But beyond how it felt, what has that done for you in the year since winning that? How it's helped you, or what doors it's opened, or anything else?
Do you know what? On the drive here, I was really thinking about, from the time of winning the award to now. And I just remembered at the time I had won the award, AKAYA wasn't born. And so to remember, I think we launched officially, we registered in December, we launched in March in Ghana, and just knowing that we've impacted thousands of young girls back home since winning this award has been amazing. I've gone on to complete my foundation training program as a doctor, hoping to sort of enter GP training in the next year or so. And Melanin Medics, we turned 6 years this year. We had an amazing conference in Birmingham a couple of months ago. It's been amazing since winning the award, but I do want to say the work done is not just me alone. I have phenomenal teams based here and also in Ghana who do a lot of the work amazingly. And at the end of the day, we just want to help change further lives.
And Simone, you've been voted a top 10 future leader. What does that mean to you, not just in the moment, but about thinking your plans for the future, what it means to lead? What does that mantle kind of mean?
Oh, I think the nomination was a bit of a shock, because I think, like you said, you just, you get on and do what it is you need to do and what it is that you're called to do, although I tried to run from it for a very long time. I think for me it was also the realisation that although it was future leader, that we have leaders absolutely everywhere, regardless of what your job title is or, the role that you do. Those people who you meet and you're just like, wow, this person is incredible and they're really inspirational, regardless of their 9 to 5 or whatever hours it is that they work. And whilst it was a Future Leader Award, when I was there and sat around all these amazing people, it was just, I was looking around the table and I was like, wow, all of these people are great leaders already. And I was like, oh, this is really great company to be around. But I think it was much more of a looking outwards than looking in, and still that all of these people are leaders. What am I doing sat at this table? But yeah, I think it's just so important to recognise the stuff that people are doing as well, and why it's great to have awards like this. Because you do just do it. It comes naturally, and you do it because it's the right thing to do. But yeah, having that thanks and, almost giving people that pat on the back is so, so important, because you don't stop, you keep going because you need to.
As Maya Angelou says, sometimes even the choir need encouragement, so it's not just preaching to the choir. But if I have a final question for you both, and lunch is about to be served shortly, so these are the last 2 quick questions, would be, what would you say to your peers? And I know you just spoke about the recognition, you've spoken about the change you've seen since winning, and sometimes I think as young people you can feel a bit frustrated that no one is listening and that you're not getting the recognition, you're not making that progress. If I could just ask you both in kind of 60 seconds just to say, how would you encourage them to think about making those connections?
I would say in anything that you're doing, never go in with the intention of, oh, one day I want to be recognized for something, or I want to get an award too. I think that really defeats the purpose. Yes, it's nice and amazing to dress up, put a bit on makeup, win an award. However, I think the most important thing is the actual action that you're doing, the steps that you're taking, whether it be to help people, whether it be to support others within your workplace. Focus on what you are doing. All the awards, achievements, I always say they come on the side, and when they do come, it's sort of like a pat on the back, and it gives you a little bit of a fire to keep going, to acknowledge that, yes, you are doing the right thing. So never go in with the intention of, I want to have all these titles. They will come naturally within their own time when it's supposed to happen for you. And for young people especially, I always get told LinkedIn is for older people and everybody cares about their awards and achievements.
I don't know how to feel about that statement.
It's a lot of, I mean, it's the common stereotype that young people especially have about LinkedIn. I'm like, don't be afraid. It's an amazing place to show up. Literally send cold messages. I've made mentors, joined leadership programs. That's how I found about the Forward Ladies event. Although I think it was a random email that I got that somebody had nominated me, and I was like, what is Forward Ladies? And it was LinkedIn, where I managed to do a little bit more investigation and go onto the website. So I always say, show up, make connections with anyone who is within your field that you want to aspire to be like. Send the email, ask a question, have a 15-minute virtual conversation. Don't be afraid to, because it can definitely push you in the right direction.
I would say a couple of things. First, celebrate the wins along the way. I think it's so easy to just, you've done it, right, what's next? You've done it, what's next? And I think that's why, like you said, we're both in that, like, well, yes, it's what we've done. Because you just want to make more progress and you want to do more good. And taking that time to look back and think, oh, wow, look where we've come from. We have achieved a lot. I think is so important to keep going and to keep that energy. Because it is hard. And the other thing is to really connect with your personal story and the reason why you do what you do. I shied away from mine for a long time and didn't tell anyone. And then when I connected with it and was like, no, this is exactly the reason why I do. Everything that happened to me is the reason why I am here today. And that is your superpower. It's the thing that makes you different. It's the thing that makes you unique and stand out. Yeah. And I tried to ignore mine for a very long time. But yeah, using that.
Thank you both. Give an applause.